We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. We just crushed their face.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Glory UGA podcast. And how about them dogs? Georgia wins another thriller. This one, a 43-35 revenge win over number 5 Ole Miss. And I am here to recap it all, guys, from every possible angle with my top 10 takeaways from that huge top 5 win over the Rebels. But first, don't forget, guys, this video, as every video here on this channel, is brought to you by our good friends at MyBookie. Go to mybookie.ag right now. If you are prone to laying down a wager or two, sign up for a new account. Use our code UGA when you do so. And, guys, your first bet going to be fully covered all the way up to $500. So jump on that while you can. And this channel is designed for all you diehard Georgia fans by a diehard Georgia fan. So do what a diehard Georgia fan would do and subscribe right now. Turn those notifications on, like, comment. Let me know what are your biggest takeaways from this win over Ole Miss. But all right, guys, what a game. Man, I'm not going to lie, like a lot of y'all out there, this one had me in all sorts of knots. Really, from the jump, heart palpitations galore. But the Dogs got it done. They hungered down when it mattered most and got it done and got revenge for that beatdown suffered at the hands of Ole Miss and Oxford last year. Guys, I was there. A lot of you were there. Even if you weren't there, you saw it. It was ugly. It was disgusting. I've never seen a Georgia team under Kirby Smart, probably ever, maybe since like Ole Miss in 2016, get handled, like really get manhandled the way that we did in that game. So getting revenge of sorts for that loss. It's a beautiful thing, man. So as I do after each game, I've got my top 10 takeaways from that big win over the Rebels. And let's just jump right in, guys. I got a lot to break down today, so I don't want to waste some more time. Let's jump in here. Off the top, number 1. I told you guys at the end of last week when I was previewing this game, I gave you guys my final prediction, my keys to the game. I told you I thought it was really important for Georgia to make Ole Miss play our game because these are two teams that have different styles of offense, right? They're just different teams and how they go about winning football games. And I felt it was important for us to make them play our game and not get caught in a situation where we were forced to play their game and we have to win a shootout. Now, as I did say last week, we have shown that we can win a shootout. We went to Knoxville early in the year, week 3, and some way, somehow came out with that win, and that became a shootout. So we've shown that we can do that. I just didn't think it was in Georgia's best interest to be caught into another situation like that because I don't think that's what we do best. But clearly, we can play that game. That's one of the great things about this Georgia team, guys. We can win games any way that we need to win games. However the game's going, whatever it calls for, we have the ability to win games in different ways. We can win a game like we did last weekend in Auburn. 20-10, ugly, not a high-scoring affair, low-scoring affair, but we do enough. We shut them out in the second half. We can win a game like that. But we can also win a game like this one, 43-35. Win a game on the road in the 40s in Knoxville. And I'm not going to lie. I thought coming into this game, if we got caught in that shootout and we're forced to play Ole Miss's game, all bets are off, man. And I didn't know if I would love our chances. Not to say that we couldn't do it, but I certainly think that would have favored Ole Miss. But this team finds a way, man. I say it week after week after week. Usually I leave this take for the end of these shows, but I'm going to lead off with it here, guys. I know you're probably tired of hearing me say this, and I know you want to see us just go out and dominate teams the way that we did in 21 and 22 and 23. That was fun, man. Kind of like blowing every team out. It wasn't stressful. The games were all that exciting because we were just killing everybody. But, you don't have the heart palpitations like I had. You don't feel like you're on death's doorstep like I felt multiple times in that game. But this is a different era of college football, guys, and we're just not gonna see that. You don't see like who is doing that. I mean, I'm sure Ohio State and the Big Ten, but guys, the middle and the bottom of the Big Ten is freaking terrible. The SEC is a different animal. I'm not saying there's a truly elite team in the SEC. The SEC might not win a national championship again this year, but the depth of the SEC, the middle, and even the bottom of the SEC, is far better than the middle and bottom of the other conferences. So every game, every week, you're seeing it week in and week out, guys. It's a freaking war. These days of you just going out there and dominating teams week in and week out in conference, it's just not going to happen anymore. And this team, for better or worse, finds a way to win football games, and it's not always pretty. And sometimes you come away thinking, "Oh my God, we stole that one, guys." There's no such thing as stealing a game in the SEC anymore. You either win or you don't. And we are finding ways to win games. No, we did not find a way to beat Alabama. We almost did. Shut them out in the second half. We fought to the end. Like, and that's the thing, guys. I'm not saying we can't lose. Like in this era of college football, we're going to lose games. Like we've seen it last year, this year. It's going to happen. It sucks. I don't like it, but it's the new age of college football. We have to kind of rework our mindset and how that works, rewire our minds on that, right? But this team has this insane skill to just keep throwing punches. And yeah, we might lose, but we are going to go down swinging if we go down. We are not going to go quietly, softly into the good night. That's not in this team's DNA. I keep talking about this team's DNA, and I know you're probably tired of hearing about that. But guys, you see it time and time again. Last year, this year. Guys, we don't win an SEC championship last year if we don't have that DNA that Kirby Smart has cultivated, that championship DNA, and it showed up again here in this game. It showed up last week on the road in Auburn, right? That was one of my big takeaways from that game. But here it is again, guys. And I know you want to see us just dominate teams. I get that. That'd be beautiful, man. And hopefully we'll do a little bit more of that. It's down the stretch. Maybe in Florida. That'd be great too. Who knows? Billy Napier, I think, just got fired. So we'll see what they have for us here in a couple of weeks in Jacksonville. But in this era, where there's so much parity across the board in a way we never have seen in the history of college football, at least in my lifetime, a long time, guys. Right? It's been a sport for a long time with the haves and the have-nots, right? And the have-nots could never really consistently compete. That's not so much the case anymore, right? So in this era where anybody can literally beat anybody on any given day, this resiliency that this Georgia football team has, this championship DNA that has been forged over time through hard work and bloody Tuesdays, that is a separating factor for this Georgia football team. We see it time and time again last year, guys. Last year on the road against Texas, yes, we jump out to a big lead, but things turn on us quickly in the second half there, right? That interception, that was interception, was interception. They throw crap on the field. Referees get bullied and overturning the call, right? That place got bananas. It was quiet before that. Got crazy. What do? We go on a drive. We score. We seal that game, right? SEC championship game against Texas. Second half, starting quarterback, gone. Guy hasn't started a game, hasn't really played meaningful football in 3 years, steps in, leads a comeback to win the SEC championship. We saw against Tennessee last year, right? This year, we've already seen it multiple times. Tennessee, I still don't know how we won the game. We went out, we won it, but man, like it felt like I remember them lining up to kick that field goal, guys, and your boy is sitting there and it's just like, see my life flashing in front of my eyes. And they miss it, and we come back. They missed it, but we came back and we had the resiliency to bounce back from a tough start of that game and win that football game, right? We didn't beat Alabama. We came back, though. We tried, man. We got close. Same thing last year on the road at Alabama. Spot them 28. We fight back. Don't finish the deal. But, man, like, what other teams are fighting back against Alabama in that setting the way that we did in that game? And you saw it again yesterday, guys. That means something. I'm not saying that means Georgia's going to win a national title or even an SEC title. Parity's crazy, man. Like, I don't know. And there's a lot of things that we got to get better at. Like, we're getting better, we're improving, but we're not there yet. We got to keep improving. But again, in this age of enhanced parity in college football, our ability to find a way, this resilience, this championship DNA, it continues to be a separating factor for this Georgia team. When the margins are incredibly small, you're playing teams that are also very, very talented and very, very good, like Ole Miss, like Tennessee. We just have that separating factor. We find a way to win. We reflect our coach. And I think that matters. That's got to count for something, guys, right? So, got to start there. But let's get into some more of the X's and O's and the specifics of this game. Number two, my second big takeaway here. Some of y'all are going to hate this. I know it. I know it. I know it. But you know what? I got to keep it objective, man. I got to keep it real here. Let's put some respect on Mike Bobo's name. I am not here to argue with you Bobo haters. I know you're out there. I know. I don't know if it's a vocal minority, if it's half the Georgia fan base. I don't know, but I know you hear from them a lot, right? And that group, I'm not going to argue. Like, I'm done arguing with the Bobo haters because what good does it do? It's a waste of breath. It's a waste of my time because that group, love you guys, impervious to reason, impervious to facts. So that's what I'm here to do, guys. I'm not here to argue. I am here to just give you facts. Do with it what you may. I think it's time to respect Mike Bobo more than some of us do. But 510 yards of offense, 6.4 yards per play, a whopping 34 first downs, which, by the way, love Todd Monken, appreciate Todd Monken. Thank you, Todd, for helping deliver us 2 national titles, helping make my wildest dreams come true. But I know that a lot of the Bobo haters say, well, Bobo just he can't remotely compare it to Todd Monken. Well, 34 first downs that Mike Bobo put up against Ole Miss. Yeah, that's something Todd Monken never did. Never put up 34 first downs in a game as Georgia's offensive coordinator. Just saying. Just saying. So 34 first downs, and more importantly, 43 points to win a shootout against Ole Miss. And guys, that was the second most yards and the most points that Ole Miss has given up all year long. The only team that put up more yards than Georgia on this Ole Miss defense was Arkansas back in week 3. And Arkansas, record's not great. Offensively, they're awesome. That's the number 4 offense in the country. And guys, they only put up 16 more yards of offense on Ole Miss than Mike Bobo's Georgia offense did yesterday. And let's not forget, I know you know this, but I got to reiterate this. We scored not on most drives, on every single drive of that football game. We did not punt one single time. And guys, this was not a case of Ole Miss gifting us some short fields with turnovers or putting up some defensive or special teams touchdowns. That's not what happened. Like, we didn't have big defensive plays that gave us short fields or big special teams plays that gave us short fields. We're talking about legit, long, grinding drives. We put up scoring drives of 42 yards, first one, right? That got pushed back because of a offensive pass interference. That didn't need to happen, but it did happen. So 42 yards, then 75 yards, 75 yards, 58 yards, 75 yards, 75 yards, 67 yards, 66 yards. But guys, it's beyond the numbers. Those are the numbers. Those are the raw facts. Do with them as you may. But it's beyond the numbers, guys. If you peel back the layers and you look at the way that we put up the numbers, it's even more impressive. We were incredibly aggressive from the jump in this game. There's a certain flavor of all these criticisms of Mike Bobo. There's certain refrains that you hear over and over and over again, just get recycled over and over and over. And one of them is, "Oh, he's never evolved. Oh, he's not a creative play caller. He's so predictable." Well, flea flicker first drive of the game, pretty creative, right? Coming out firing from the jump. And if not for, again, that offensive pass interference in that first drive, we score a touchdown probably there based off what we did the rest of the game. But at least we scored in that first drive. And then, so we were aggressive. Like, we were taking shots down the field. We were trying to put up points in a big way. But he was also patient when we needed to be patient. He didn't press. Like when Ole Miss is just scoring at will, drive after drive after drive, he didn't start to press. He had a game plan that was working, and he stuck to the game plan. Like, we're down 9 in the second half. They scored to go up 9. And then what do we do on the ensuing drive? We don't panic. I was panicking, y'all, in the stands. I'm sitting there losing my freaking mind. Oh, my God. Season's over. Like, here we go. Like, how are we going to find a way to not lose the game the rest of the year? That's where my mind went, right? But we're down by 9. I might be panicking somewhat, a little bit. But Mike Bobo's not. What does he do? He brings in our big back, 245-pound Josh McCray, just pound away at the Ole Miss defense. That is a veteran offensive coordinator sticking with the plan. And then in the red zone, guys, Mike Bobo was a flat-out magician. Unbelievable effort in the red zone. Guys, again, when you're playing the Ole Miss team, they're scoring 5 touchdowns on their first 5 drives. You got to be scoring touchdowns to keep pace. You can't get in the red zone and get stalled out and kick field goals, because then you lose the football game. It was imperative in this game, the way it was going, that when we got in the red zone, we had to punch it in for 6. That had to happen. And Mike Bobo was unbelievable with the game he called in, like, all parts of the field, but certainly, especially in the red zone. The first 2 touchdowns. So Lawson Lucky, we'll get to him a little bit later on. Lawson Lucky had 3 touchdowns. Huge game for Lawson. Love to see it, man. Good dude. But the first 2 touchdowns were constraints off of base plays that we run. And so I know that people get frustrated. Oh, we run so many screens. Oh, we run these same running plays. Guys, you do that because you have to have base plays, right? And then when teams start to over pursue against your base plays that you show over and over again, then you run constraints, or what some people might call a counter off of that. And so the first touchdown to Lucky was a constraint off of screen actions. We put Zachariah Branch in motion, which you've seen us do a ton of times. Have him out there in the flat. You've seen how many times you've seen us just throw the ball out to him and let him just go to work out there, right? Untold number of times so far this season. So we show that action again in the red zone, and sure enough, Ole Miss triggers hard on that screen action. And not only do we slip Lawson Lucky, we do a fake block, a stalk block, and then he slips to the end zone, but we also do a switch release there. So it's another layer of confusion for the defense there, and it's a touchdown. Like Lawson, great, nice catch. Gunner, good throw, but that was a Mike Bobo play. They're all Mike Bobo plays, but he dialed it up. That was a function of Mike Bobo just dialing up a gorgeous play call that resulted in a touchdown in a key part of the field. The second one to Lawson Lucky on the other end zone, the bridge end zone, we run. How many times you see us run that toss, right? We run the toss action. What does Ole Miss do? They trigger hard on the toss action, and we run Lucky just right at the seam, touchdown. Again, nice catch by Lucky, nice throw by Gunner. We execute the play, but that was a result of an incredible play call, incredible play design by Mike Bobo. This guy identified the deficiencies of this Ole Miss defense, find the same things I laid out for you last week here on the show, and attacked them all game long. Kept chopping, right? It was relentless, just never went away from it. And look, I know that this performance by the Georgia offense and what Mike Bobo was able to do against Ole Miss, all that's going to do is send the Bobo haters into hibernation temporarily. That's how this works. Whenever we have a huge performance offensively, Mike Bobo does great things. They can't give him credit for it. God forbid we can't give him credit for it. But they'll stay silent. They'll keep their mouth shut for a little bit. They'll go into hibernation, but they'll just be laying in wait, jonesing for their next chance to pounce, right? It's just how this thing works. And that's fine. Look, I can't stop anyone from doing that. Like, no matter what I say about Mike Bobo, those that suffer from Bobo derangement syndrome, you'll never be able to reason with them. It just is what it is. They made up their mind about him back in 2007, and they'll just never change their mind. It is what it is. But can we just do this? Can we just appreciate the man and the job he did on Saturday for 1 week? Can you give me 1 week? Can we do that, guys? 1 week. That's all I ask. And it's reasonable based off the performance of the Georgia offense and what Mike Bobo was able to do to really be a major part of why we won that football game. Let's just be real, guys. That's what happened here. All right, moving on here. We also gave some flowers to another guy. Had a huge day on Saturday. Gunner freaking Stockton. Unbelievable game by our guy Gunner. 26 of 31, 289 yards passing, 9.3 yards per attempt, 4 tutties, 0 interceptions, 10 rushes, 59 yards, almost 6 yards a rush, another touchdown. So what do we got in total? 5 total touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And guys, I'm at the point now, we're now more than midway through the season. I do not want to hear any more talk about can Georgia win with Gunner Stockton at quarterback. I don't want to hear any more of that, all right? If we do not win a championship this year, and we might not, guys, like we're not a perfect team, we'll see. But if we don't win a championship this year, it sure as heck won't be because of Gunner Stockton. In fact, as far as I can see it, you might not agree, that's fine. As far as I can see it, Gunner is quickly becoming a reason that we could win a championship of some sort in 2025 because this guy is becoming a straight up playmaker for this Georgia offense. That touchdown run he had in the first half was absolutely absurd, guys. Guys, they had the perfect play call on for that play. They had the perfect play. They had a blitzer for the dive man. They had a defender out there on the flat route. So basically run a triple option play, right? We had the defender on the flat route. And then they had Prince William, their edge player, their buck linebacker, sitting there ready to take the quarterback. They had that defended perfectly pre-snap. The play call could not have been better for that play. But Gunner just made a miss. He made a miss. He made the right decision to pull the ball, and then he made Uman miss. And then John's 22 yards in the end zone, looking behind him the whole way, right? That's just a straight-up playmaker making a play, guys. That's what that was. That's crazy. And then the flea flicker pass, was the first pass of the game? I think it was. If not, one of the first passes of the game on that first drive was a ridiculous throw. Guys, Colby Young was covered pretty well in that play. Gunner dropped an absolute dime. Unfortunately, Colby. God, I hate it, man. Hate it for him, dude. Fought back after last year's adversity, man. So just tough to see that. Hopefully we'll get back at some point late in the year if we're still able to keep playing there. But crazy throw by Gunner on that play. Then the pass to Dylan Bell in the fourth quarter to extend our lead, that helped us extend our lead to 8, was also a ridiculous throw. I've been saying this since last year, guys. People will see what they want to see, I guess. And it's this idea, oh, the Gunner doesn't have a good arm, and Gunner's just a game manager. Guys, one of the best things Gunner does as a quarterback is throw the ball vertically down the field. Now, he's got to throw it more consistently, but when he throws a gorgeous deep ball. I said it last year, when he had to start the game against Notre Dame. He throws a better deep ball than Carson Beck ever did at Georgia. Now, Carson was better at certain things, but Gunner, in terms of throwing the ball down the field, Gunner is significantly more accurate in that part of the game. So, unbelievable game by Gunner. And here's the thing, guys. He didn't hurt, y'all. This guy was hurt. I was told midweek, I think it was about Wednesday, that he did not practice early in the week. And I asked why, and all I got was he got banged up against Auburn. Nothing specific there. I did not put that out here on the show because I'm a Georgia guy. All right? I'm a Georgia guy. And I am not in the business of doing anything that could even remotely possibly hurt Georgia. Just not going to do it. I know nobody cares about me. I know that Ole Miss is probably not listening to me no matter what I say. It's probably not going to get back to them. But I'm not risking it, y'all. I'm not risking it. I'm not doing it, right? So that's why I didn't say anything. I think some word leaked late last week that Publicity was getting enhanced reps. Guys, I was told early in the week he was getting pretty much all the reps on Monday, and especially Monday, and some on Tuesday as well during our Blade Tuesday practice. A lot of them on Tuesday. So this guy went out and had, I think, his best performance of the season, and he wasn't even remotely healthy. Like, there was a thought early in the week that he might not play. Like, we weren't sure. He goes out there and he plays, man. And like, not only plays, he's running the football, looking the exact way he always does, putting his body on the line the way that Gunner Stockton always does. That's why the team loves him. That's why you got to love this guy. And look, he's not perfect. I'm not telling you he is. He is not perfect. And he wasn't perfect in this game. There were, off the top of my head, going back and doing one rewatch, I'm waiting for my All-22 tape, so I'll go back and watch the All-22 here, but going back and watch the TV copy earlier today, there were 2 TDs that he left on the board because, A, he let the pocket too early, which is something he's been doing throughout the year. He's gotten better at it. He's cutting it down. Still does it sometimes. So it's that and or just didn't pull the trigger. So there's one. They're both in the first half. One was a shot lost. We had Oscar Delp streaking down the middle field wide open. There was no within 10 yards of him. If Gunner sees him, it's a touchdown. It's a touchdown, 100%. Now Gunner pulls the ball down, and it's third down. He runs for a first down. So hey, we kept the drive going, but that would have been a touchdown there. I think we actually ended up scoring that drive anyway, so it's a moot point. But the one that was more painful for me was the one right before the half, that final drive, the 2-minute drill, which, by the way, guys, we do a great job of 2-minute drill. We do a great job all year in that part of the game. That's big. Helped us win some football games. But that drive, so he's rolling out. He was in the pocket, and if he would have stuck in the pocket for a beat longer, I think it was lucky. It was Lucky or Delp that was going to streak open on the post in the middle of the field, and if you hit him, if you just throw the ball to him, it's a touchdown. Okay, he leaves the pocket. And he didn't need to because there was no pressure. Stick in the pocket, Gunner. You did not need to leave the pocket. I know when you're able to run and escape and be creative outside the pocket the way that he is, it's tantalizing. It's hard not to do that. You just got to be disciplined there. But then even once he escaped the pocket, you have, and this is, I'm in the end zone right. This is my seats are in the end zone right there. And I'm looking, and I see Lennon Humphrey sitting there. I'm like, oh my God, throw it. Please, dear God, throw it. And he didn't throw it. And this in the game, like, I can't see if Gunner sees it or not, right? Going back and watching the replay today, he saw it. Like, he's looking. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't see it. Like, he sees London Humphreys there open, but he didn't pull the trigger. And yes, there was a cornerback that, like, could he have made a play on the ball? Maybe, but probably not. And Gunner, and this is one thing I've been saying about him all year, for better or worse, he has been very risk averse. He's becoming less risk averse. He's becoming more willing to take chances. But early in the year, he was incredibly risk averse. That's like, he would see these plays, he's just not throwing them. He's like, I want to get picked. It's almost like he's been like overcoached to the point of like, hey, don't turn the freaking football over. And he's been really, really good in that regard. But sometimes, like, especially in that situation, I think the chances of you hitting that play are far greater than them making a play on that football. So I think if he cuts it loose there, touchdown. I think he had two opportunities for touchdowns on that one specific play. So no, he's not perfect, guys, but we got to stop taking one or two instances here and there and using that to crush a guy. It's like, oh, he's just not any good. What about the rest of the freaking game, guys? He made far more plays, positive plays, than he did plays that he left out there on the field. So, and look, I know sometimes he is risk averse, and that can be frustrating sometimes. Let me ask you this: I know a lot of you probably watched that Miami Louisvile game on Friday. You saw Carson Beck. I don't want to make this Carson Beck bash fest. Like, I just whatever. But guy threw 4 picks. Some of them were bad. Like there was one in particular. Like, it reminded me of Florida last year where the guard got beat immediately by the defensive tackle, got pressure in his face. What does he do? He's a sixth-year senior, by the way. He literally closes his eyes, turns his head off his back foot. He's not looking at anything. He just throws the ball. And he throws the ball like triple coverage, and yeah, it's gonna be freaking picked. And that was in plus territory. So would you rather Gunner do that than protect the football and at least we get a field goal there and not come away with nothing on a potentially promising drive there? Like, yes, I'd rather have the touchdown. I want the touchdown, but if it comes down to field goal or potential interception, yeah, give me the points there. So I know it can be frustrating, but then there's the other side of this too, guys, is the other edge of this coin. So you got to look at it both ways there. And Gunner, again, not perfect, but he's improving game by game and has become a force for this Georgia football team. Guys, he gets better and better every game, and I don't think that's going to change. He's going to continue to improve, and by the time we get to the end of the season, he might be one of the better quarterbacks in the whole SEC, guys. He might be there right now. Like, he's getting to that point. He's getting there, guys. All right, number 4. Big takeaway number 4 here. Georgia owned the lines of scrimmage in this game. I told you last week, if you caught the episode, my number one key in this game, I had 4 big keys. My number one key was Georgia had to be able to run the football. I told you that I felt it was the single biggest matchup advantage, the Georgia rushing offense versus the Ole Miss rush defense. I told you I thought it was the biggest matchup advantage for any team, for either team in this game, because I felt like coming into this game, based on what I'd seen from Ole Miss all year, breaking down their tape, that the Ole Miss front six this year in 2025 was far closer to the Ole Miss front we saw in 2023 than it was to the elite Ole Miss front that we saw in 2024. And think back to what happened in 2023, guys. We ran for over 300 yards and 8 yards per rush against that Ole Miss defense. But then last year, what happened? They saw what happened in 2023. Lane Kiffin was very open, saying, like, if we want to beat Georgia, if we want to win games like this, we've got to get better in the trenches. So ahead of last year, they went out and they loaded up in a big way on both lines of scrimmage, especially on defense. You bring guys like Walter Nolan, Princely Umanmiel, you got J.J. Pegues there, and they were as good as any front in America. They led the nation in sacks per game, led the nation by a wide margin in tackles for loss. And when we played them, we were very banged up on the offensive line, so it was just a bloodbath out there for Georgia, guys. We only put up 59 yards rushing and 1.8 yards per rush last year. Again, rushed for 300 over 8 yards per rush the year prior. Now, I told you I did not think that we would dominate them up front the way as much as we did in 2023 in the run game, because we aren't quite as good as we were in 2023 up front this year, and we're also banged up right now, although we're getting healthier. But I thought that we would have much closer to that type of success running the ball that we did in 2023 and controlling lines of scrimmage than we did against that elite Ole Miss front in 2024. And guys, it worked out that way. We went out and did exactly what I thought we would do and ran the ball down their freaking throat. That's what we did. 221 yards rushing, and that's more rushing yards than Ole Miss had given up all year long. Now, no, we did not really break off a ton of explosives. We only had one rush of 20 or more yards. It was Gunnar Stockton's 22-yard touchdown run. That a very awesome play. But even though we didn't get a ton of explosives, like against Bama, we were ripping off explosive after explosive in the ground game. But we were routinely getting 5, 6, 7 yards a pop. And we were getting consistent movement up front all game long. And beyond that, guys, one of the big concerns I've had all year long, you've heard me talk about it all year, is our pass protection, especially on the right side of the offensive line. We've been banged up. We're starting 2 freshmen out there. It was touch and go early in the year. I was scared to death going to Knoxville with their pass rushers, and The injuries we had up front and 2 freshmen out there, scared to death, man. But those guys have gotten better and better. They're talented players. They've always been talented players, but now they're getting more experience and they're improving. Now we're getting healthier out there. And we only gave up 1 sack all game, guys. 1 sack all game. And Gunner was awesome. Yes, he was. But we also protected him better than I think we have all season against an SEC caliber opponent. Like part of it is, in some of the early games when he was leaving the pocket, we were dialing up plays at times, like, and he was willing to take the shots at times, but he didn't have time to get the ball off. The route didn't have time to develop because we weren't giving him enough time. We weren't protecting him long enough. But that's not happening as much now. Especially in this game, guys, we protected him better than I think we have all year long, gave him time to hit some of those plays down the field. And then defensively, we also dominated in the trenches. I know they scored 35 points and 5 touchdowns on the first 5 drives, but it wasn't because they were running the ball down our throat, guys. We held Ole Miss to 88 yards rushing, which is by far their lowest rushing output of the season. We held Kwan Lacey, who I told you coming into this game, I think is one of the better running backs in the country. I think he's really freaking good. And he was the second leading rusher in the SEC coming into this game, only behind Ahmad Hardy. We held him to 12 carries for 31 yards. By far his personal lowest rushing output of the season, only 2.6 yards per rush. In fact, the longest run of the day for Ole Miss, a 16-yard scramble really, was on a reverse pass that they called on a 4th down. They get the ball in Chamus's hand like on a reverse, and he, instead of throwing it, he scrambles for 16 yards because our contained guy on that play was Josh Horton, who's an interior defensive tackle. And CJ Allen got his eyes caught in the wrong spot there, and he probably should have been out there too, but he wasn't out there. He was kind of just roaming around the middle of the field. And he scrambled for 16 yards on that 4th and short play. But that was their longest run of the play, or longest rushing play of the game. When they tried to line up and actually run it at us, they couldn't. They had no chance all game long. They could not do it. So that was a big part of our success and a big part of why we won this game as well. So just domination of the trenches for Georgia, just like it was in 2023. Maybe not to that degree, but far closer to that than what we saw last year. We just got destroyed in the trenches. Destroyed in the trenches in that game. All right, big takeaway number 5 here. Man, it was a sight for sore eyes to see that tight end renaissance for Georgia, at least in this one game. Lawson Lucky, Oscar Delp combined for 9 catches for just a hair under 100 yards, 99 total yards, 3 touchdowns, all, of course, Lawson Lucky, his first 3 touchdowns of the season. And then Elias Williams, true freshman tight end, who's getting more and more playing time as the season goes on, also didn't register a catch, but drew a big pass interference there in the second half. And guys, the production from the tight end position has been missing, at least in the passing game, really all year long. We talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago. But guys, coming into this game, all season long, coming to this game, Georgia's tight ends had combined for 15 catches for 196 yards and a single touchdown. Elias Williams, and it was the first game, I want to say, against Marshall. So again, 15 catches, 196 yards, 1 combined touchdown through the first 6 games of the season for Georgia's tight ends. On Saturday, 9 catches, 99 yards, 3 touchdowns combined. And there were some incredibly impressive catches, too. Like the one that Lawson Lucky made, Gunner is trying to put it in a certain spot away from the defender. Probably put it a little too far out there, but Lucky makes a ridiculous catch, man. And Lucky's shown the ability to make some catches like that. You go back to the SEC championship game last year, the toe tap on the sideline there. He can make those kinds of plays. And it was great to see, man, because with how well that we run the football, we've been needing to find a way to be more explosive down the field off of that, especially off play action, to make teams pay for how they're trying to defend us, getting heavy personnel on the field, getting guys in the boxes. And I told you a couple weeks ago that I felt the tight ends could be a big part of that, of being more explosive offensively in the pass game by creating matchup problems for defenses when they try to match our 12 personnel with heavy personnel of their own. But we weren't creating consistent separation early in the year. We weren't really making plays from that position. But that started to change yesterday. We saw Elias Williams against Kentucky make some really nice plays. And you saw Delp and Lucky get more involved yesterday against Ole Miss. And hopefully that is a sign of things to come and not just a one-off. Because I do believe that they can be a huge part of our offensive success moving forward, certainly off play action, the way that we're able to run the football. So let's keep building on this, guys. Tight end play is something that Georgia's really leaned on heavily, and obviously with Brock Bowers in the last 4, 5, 6 years, and we need to get back that, especially how we're able to run the football. So I think it's a very good sign, hopefully a sign of things to come. All right, number 6 here. So when you beat a top 5 team, there's obviously a lot to be excited about, and that's why I wanted to start with. I wanted to start with the good things, guys. All right, so sue me. I want to start with the good stuff, but it wasn't all great because we also gave up 35 points to this Ole Miss team and gave up touchdown drives on each of the Rebels' first 5 drives of the game, which has never happened under Kirby Smart. Not one time in the Kirby Smart era. And so that, combined with these consistently slow defensive starts that we've gotten off to an SEC play, has obviously generated some genuine concern in the Georgia fan base, among all you diehards out there, myself included, and raised some real questions about this defensive staff. Some questions that we've been answering, been trying to answer and discussed here on the show in recent weeks. In particular, raised a lot of questions about defense coordinator Glenn Schumann. Obviously, the buck stops there, right? And people, understandably, want answers as to what is going on. And I will get to Schumann. I will get to the defensive scheme here momentarily. But I want to start with this. I'm trying to explain what's going on in the defense and what happened in this game, why they were able to score in their first 5 drives of the game, why it seemed like we just had no chance, and we were utterly helpless in the first 5 drives of the game. It wasn't all about scheme. Scheme was some of it. We'll get to that next. But it wasn't all about scheme on Saturday. So in trying to answer what went wrong against this Ole Miss offense, I'm going to go back. I'm going to take you guys back to another one of my keys to this game that I laid out for you on the final episode last week, my final show of the week last week. Tackling. I told you guys we had to tackle. It's like, duh, yeah, of course. And yeah, that's one of those things that you can say that for every game, sure. But in certain games, it takes on outsized importance. And against Ole Miss, a team that loves to get the ball in space to very shifty, electric playmakers and just let them go to work, teams that spread you out and make you operate in space, you've got to get guys on the ground. It becomes critical to get those guys on the ground. What did I say last week? I think I said you can't let a 7-yard RPO turn like a 57-yard touchdown run. Or you can't let a 7-yard hitch route turn into a 75-yard touchdown catch and run on the opening drive of the second half, which is exactly what happened. That was case in point, guys. That's exactly what I was talking about last week. In our tackling, guys, it wasn't just that play where you have Dalen Everett, who's one of our better tacklers, like certainly in the secondary, one-on-one on the outside. We have a 7-man pressure, one-on-one on the outside. You're playing off coverage. They read that, they see that, they throw a quick hitch, and he just makes Everett miss, and he's off for the races, man. And you don't catch him because Stribling's a very fast player, man. So it was, yeah, that play, but it was more just that. Our tackling was woefully bad all over the field for large portions of this game. And guys, that poor tackling gave them points. We had cut it to 21-20 right before halftime. They get the ball, get a stop right there. Get a stop, get the ball, and take control of the game from the jump in the second half. But no, you can't really do that when you can't get a guy on the ground after a simple, 5, 6-yard hitch route. He makes one guy miss, and he's gone the distance, right? That gave them points. And then there were other missed tackles that might not have resulted directly in points on that specific play, but gave them first downs that allowed them to continue drives that then ended up leading to points. And it happened time and time again, guys. There were multiple offenders. C.J. Allen, Dalen Everett, Janelle Aguero, you name it, guys. Like Chris Cole. Guys just missing tackles out there, man. And there's just some guys at the top of my head there. But it was more than just them. Guys missing tackles. And when you play a team like Ole Miss, that's RPO-heavy offense. So they weren't running a ton of RPOs in the first half. They were just having success just throwing the ball out there and taking advantage of the free access yards that we were giving them and just going to work. But when they want to get the ball in space, with dynamic playmakers, you got to get them on the ground. And we just simply did not do a good enough job of that, especially in the first, I would say the first 3/4 of that football game. All right, so that's part of it. That's part of it. Just execution is part of it. But then there is the defensive scheme. So let's go to big takeaway number 7 here. From my perspective, the defensive scheme issue that we had in this game is very much the same issue that I railed against pretty much all last year, guys, all last year. And I have railed against it at times again this year. And that issue is that we are playing too much off coverage and bail technique stuff where we're bailing on the outside at the corner position at the snap. Too much cover three. Too much cover three stuff where we're bailing at the snap. Too many downs where we are aligned 9 to 10 yards off the wide receiver at the snap, gifting them free access yards. Now, I've gotten a lot of questions about why do we do this? Why do we do this, Tyler? Like, what is the purpose behind this? And hey, it's a fair question. I personally, this is just me speculating, but my read on it, my take on it is I don't believe that we trust our cornerbacks. That's what I think it is, guys. Is why are you not letting them play as much bump and run, get up in their face, and play tighter coverage, which has kind of been a hallmark of Kirby's smart defenses really forever. Why are we not doing as much of that? Why are we playing more of this off coverage stuff, this bail technique stuff? I don't think that we trust our corners. Now, last year, I get it. I mean, the first half, you guys saw it. Like, we'd be in position. We just couldn't find the ball. And it doesn't matter if you're in position if you can't ever find the football. You think about the Alabama game, guys. They think about Julian Humphrey, doing his flailing technique thing out there, man. And so I get it. I get why that would scare you off of playing more of that in-your-face press, bump and run technique stuff. Like, right? Like, I understand that to a degree. And then fast forward this year, week 3 against Tennessee, you get burned a couple times for some of those big throws. And so that probably scares you off a little bit there. And sure, now Julian Humphrey's moved on, but now we got some young guys. You got Dan Everett, who's very good. But then you've got Ellis Robinson IV, who's talented, but still learning how to play that position. DeMello Jones, I think, he's done some really good things. Daniel Harris, who's not a factor right now. I think that game started to scare our defensive staff some. And then there's also this, too. I will say this in defense of Glenn Schumann and the defensive staff. Early in this game, and at various points throughout this year, when we have given our corners opportunities to play the tighter coverage up in receivers' faces, they've committed far too many pass interferences. Again, it's just like last year. They're in phase, but they get handsy and they kind of panic and they freak out and they almost like tackle the guy, and it's pass interference. And then you're gifting them 15 yards every time you do that. So I will say that in defense of Glenn Schumann. Now, I know the retort to that is, well, isn't it his job to get these guys to execute? Sure, I guess the buck does stop with him, and I think like I don't know what it is, guys. I would say like since Will Muschamp has not been as much of a factor, the coach staff has not been a full-time coach. Our secondary play, especially our corner play, has not been as good. Hasn't been as good. I mean, maybe you can say since Fran Brown left too, hasn't been as good out there. So I don't know if there's anything to that, but it's just something you notice there. So I think that's certainly a part of it. Now, the purpose of playing off coverage, like why would you actually play that coverage, is you're trying to keep everything in front of you, right? You're trying to keep everything in front of you and limit explosive plays. You're trying to force the offense to go 10, 11, 12 plays down the field, and you're gambling that they're going to make a mistake and screw up somewhere along the way and derail the drive, or B, you're going to make a play somewhere along a 10, 11, 12 play drive and you get the ball back for your offense, right? But that's not what was happening on Saturday. And I think we stuck with it way too long when it was clear that they were perfectly content just taking what we were giving them and going 10, 11, 12 plays down the field, right? So I do understand to some degree like why you might want to play off them a little bit and why you might want to try to limit their explosive plays. Because, guys, that was the most explosive offense in the country coming into this game. They had more plays of 30 or more yards than any team in the country coming into this game. So, yeah, they're explosive. I get why you don't want to get beat by the explosive play. But the thing about this Ole Miss team, guys, if you watch them play, which I know our coaching staff has, is they don't necessarily generate a ton of plays like with explosive shots down the field, vertically down the field, like throwing the ball down the field. It's more, again, getting the ball in space, to guys spreading you out, getting the ball in space, and let these dynamic playmakers go to work and just make people miss and then generate explosive plays that way. And when you play off coverage, considering how they try to generate explosive plays, you're gambling on your player's ability to make tackles in space. And against a team like Ole Miss, you're kind of playing into their hands because that's what they want you to do. They want you to try to tackle them in space. They don't think that you can. Like, did you see Lane Kiffin on the sideline there on that opening drive of the second half, like on the 75-yard touchdown catch and run? Like, he's trying everything he can to get Chambliss's attention. It's like, throw the ball here. They got 7-man pressure. They got one on the outside. I don't think that Dalen Everett, even though he's one of our better perimeter tacklers, I don't think he can win one-on-one and get this guy on the ground. I don't think he can. So let's get the ball out to him. And sure enough, Lane Kiffin was right there. So when you play that off technique, that's fine. You've got to get people on the ground. That's where the tackling issue also comes into play. So look, that was to me a major issue, especially in the first half of this game, for most of the game. In the fourth quarter, we were playing much tighter coverage on the outside. It's almost like, all right, look, guys, like screw it. Like at this point, we can't keep giving them 15 yards every time they want to throw the football. 10 yards every time they want to throw the football, right? So we played tighter coverage on the outside, forcing Chambliss in the process to try to fit balls into tighter windows, contesting throws in a way that we simply weren't for large portions of the first half. And I believe that is a big reason why we held them to 13 total yards on 11 plays, just a hair over a yard per play in the fourth quarter of that football game. Of that football game. So yeah, look, if you play tighter coverage, yes, of course, you are absolutely going to run the risk of getting burned and giving up explosive plays down the field if you play those tighter coverages. But when you play off like we did in this game, like we have far too much over the last year and a half, in my opinion, and teams are patient enough and you're giving them those free access throws, if teams are patient enough and willing to take those throws, those 7 to 10 yard free access throws, and go 14, 10, 11, 12 plays down the field, like Ole Miss did, guys, drives of 14 yards, 10 yards. Drives of 14 plays, 10 plays, 11 plays, and 12 plays in this game. They only had 3 plays of 20 or plus more yards, guys. They had 43 plays of 20 or more yards through the first 6 games. So we held them to less than half their average number of explosive plays in a game, which is another one of my keys this game. Limit their explosive plays. But when you are gifting them 7 to 10 yards on the outside with your alignment and they are willing to take it and march the way down the field, it doesn't matter if you're giving up explosives because the end result will be the same. The drive will end in a touchdown, which is what we saw in the first 5 drives of those games. So look, I absolutely understand and share some of those frustrations that a lot of you have had and continue to have about our defensive performance and some of the things that we're doing early in football games. But let's go to takeaway number 8 here. But going back and rewatching it and looking at the numbers, looking at how things kind of played out, I don't believe the defensive performance in totality was necessarily as bad as it seemed in the moment. When I don't want to speak for you guys, I know myself, when I was wrapped up in the emotions of that game, guys, it felt like to me we were utterly helpless for those first 5 drives, that we had zero chance of stopping them. Like they were just moving the ball at will. And like we were at times we get them in third long, but when you're playing the off coverage, it doesn't matter, man. They were converting those third long situations. So yes, we gave up 5 touchdowns on 5 consecutive drives, something that's never happened in the Kirby Smart era. And that is, quite frankly, unacceptable. That cannot happen. Of course, that cannot happen moving forward, obviously. And stopping teams from scoring is technically the name of the game defensively. Everything else, all the other stats that you throw out there, are really just means to that end of stopping the opponent from scoring. If you keep them on the scoreboard, they can't win the game. But saying that, guys, you look at some of the other metrics out there. Like, yeah, they scored 35 points, 5 touchdowns on 5 drives. Crazy. It can't happen. But we did hold Ole Miss to 351 total yards. That might not mean anything to you because the points, technically, that's what matters, right? But the 351 total yards that we held Ole Miss to was by far their lowest yardage output of the season in any game. Their previous low was 439 yards. We held them to 351. Now, 5.9 yards per play that we allowed is still too much for my liking. That's not up to the standard of Georgia defenses. But we also have to understand, guys, like they're really good. Sometimes it's really hard to stop a good offense. They are a really talented, really well-coached offense. They have a quarterback that's playing at a really high level who has been very accurate with the football, like lethally accurate. And go back and look, even when we were winning national titles, guys, look at the games where we played teams with elite offenses, with elite personnel, with elite quarterbacks, and really talented wide receivers, and a really good scheme. We had our fair share of trouble. Go back to 2022 Peach Bowl, right? Playoff semifinals. Ohio State, man, like, yeah, we got some stops when we needed them. First half of that game, man, like they were moving the ball. I don't want to say at will, but they were moving the football. They put up a lot of points on it. So it's not that we haven't seen Georgia defense, even when we were winning national championships, give up a lot of points. It's hard, guys. I don't care what your defensive personnel is. It's hard to stop an offense that is engineered by a play caller and head coach who are very, very good offensive minds in Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. You have a quarterback who's playing at a high level. He's a really good athlete, can escape the pocket, and can create on the move, is a threat to run the football, who's really accurate throwing the football. And you have a bunch of dynamic playmakers on the outside. You have a really talented tight end that can create matchup problems. You have one of the better running backs in the SEC. It's a tough offense to stop, okay? So I don't like 5.9 yards per play, still too much for my liking, but it's a really good offense, guys, and you have to understand that. That's like I know that seems like a cop out, but it's true, guys. It's even the best defense in the country. It's hard to stop offenses that are that good. And 5.9 yards per play, even though I don't like that, it's still too much for my liking. That was the second lowest yards per play output of the season for Ole Miss. LSU a couple weeks ago held them to 5.7 yards per play. Now, LSU's really good defensively, guys. And we also completely stifled their run game, going back to controlling the lines of scrimmage. We limited Chambliss and Lacey, their running back, to their worst performances of the season. Chambliss was still pretty good, but he only completed 52% of his passes, guys, for 263 yards and 1 touchdown. And then Lacey had, 31 yards rushing on 12 carries, 2.6 yards per rush. I know the 35 points, that skews everything, and that negates everything else I'm talking about here. I get that. But what I'm trying to say is I don't think we're that far off from being really good on defense. Like, we don't have the personnel, like the pass rushers, the disruptors that we've had in the past. Like, we don't have a Jalen Walker type guy. We don't have that right now, right? But I still think that we're close to being a really good, maybe not a full-on elite defense, but a really good defense. We just have to clean up the little things, guys. Tackling in space, doing your job, eye discipline, things like that. And from a coaching standpoint, stop playing so much passive coverage on the outside. Because if a team like Ole Miss, teams like that, they're willing to take it, they're going to march down the field and they're going to score on you. We've got to take more, chances, but let our DBs play out there, man. Because I know that there's been some pass interferences. I understand why we would be concerned to let them play in the situations. But if you don't trust those guys, get somebody out there that you do trust. If you don't think those guys are the right guys, find somebody else, man. Like, we got a lot of DBs, a lot of guys that are very highly ranked coming out of high school. So again, I think that we're close, guys. We just have gotta clean up on some little things, and we've got to trust our DBs a little bit more on the outside than I think we have the first part of this season. All right, couple more things here, guys. Takeaway number 9. We had to answer Ole Miss's scores time and time again in this game. And that led us to create big play after big play. We had a ton of big plays in this game. But out of all those plays, guys, I think the biggest play of the game, arguably, I think I am going to make the argument here, the biggest play of the game might have been a 2-yard run for the Georgia Bulldogs. Let me set the stage for you here, all right? Dogs down by 9. Ole Miss just scores, go up by 9. Previous drive, we missed 2-point conversion, so now they're up by 9. 4 minutes, 12 seconds left in the third quarter. Your boy here is on death's doorsteps in the stands, on the verge of panicking, not outright panicking, but pretty close, y'all. But Mike Bobo, he didn't panic, man. What's he do? He brings in our big, bruising, 245-pound transfer running back from Illinois, Josh McCray, pounds out a couple yards, gets a first down, and then we get to 4th and 1 at our own 44, now with 1:03 left in the third quarter. Guys, if we do not convert on this play, going for it, and we get stuffed on our own 44, down by 9, late in the third quarter, that's probably ball game. Probably ball game right there, right? So what do? We put Josh McCray at fullback, and then we run essentially what looks like amounts to like a fullback counter. And it looks like he's stuffed initially. The right side of the offensive line, the center kind of somewhat a little bit get put, I don't want to say like fully blown back, but did not get much movement up front. And McCray like pounds into their rear ends initially, right? If he just stops there, he gets stuffed. But he doesn't stop there. He continues to turn his legs, fights, and grinds out a 2-yard run when it looked like he was about to get stuffed. That's what it looked like, guys. He found a way. And then we convert the first down. And then what do? We go on to score, and we pull ourselves right there on the cusp of taking the lead in this game. And I think that one play was a microcosm of this team at large. So let's go back to my first takeaway. Found a way. Josh McCray found a way. Just like this team continues to find a way when it doesn't look very good. It didn't look great for McCray on that play initially, but he found a way. Didn't look great for our team in this game initially, but some way, somehow, we found a way. So I think that was the biggest play of this game. If we get stopped there, I think it's game over. I think it's game over if we get stopped right there. Honorable mention play goes to the Dylan Bell 36-yard reception down the Ole Miss sideline on the next drive. We're trying to put the game away. We get a 2-yard loss on first down. Now it's 2nd and 12 with 4 minutes and 3 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Gunner drops back and drops an absolute dime to Dylan Bell, who comes up with an awesome catch. It looked like to me that the DB was holding his right arm, and Dylan has pulled him with his left arm. They didn't call pass. They called pass interference every freaking time on us, not on them in that play. I thought it was, but who cares? Dylan caught the ball. We did not end up scoring a touchdown on that drive, but that catch put us on the fringe of field goal position, and getting the first down there allows us to grind more clock. Because if he doesn't make that catch, it's now 3rd and 12. Maybe we end up punting from there, and they have good field position, right? At that point, they would have been down 5. They come down the field, maybe they score a touchdown, maybe they go for 2. Now we're down 3. That could have happened, but when we convert that, we are now in their territory, or close to their territory. We get a first down, we get out of deep in our own territory, and we also grind more clock. Remove their opportunities for them to go down the field and try to tie that football game. So that was also like, you can make an argument for that being the biggest play of the game. It's right there, but I'm going to go with Josh McCray's 2-yard run, that 4th down. And finally here, guys, number 10, unbelievable effort from the crowd inside Sanford Stadium yesterday, guys. Loud from the jump. If you were there, you know what I'm talking about. And even on the rewatch, guys, those of you who weren't there, you could hear it, man, especially in the fourth quarter. It was loud from the jump. But the fourth quarter, guys, took it to a totally different level. Those 3 drives where we finally got stops against that Ole Miss offense in the fourth quarter, I'm talking ear-piercing loud, guys. Like uncomfortably loud. Like literally painfully loud. And maybe I'm just an old man now. Maybe. I don't know. But painfully loud, guys. I was like looking, I was like, dear God, this is like literally painful right now. And all these people out there, every offseason, you hear the same thing. Every offseason, it's talking season, so there's no games to talk about. So people they just talk about whatever, right? And all these people regurgitate this tired refrain that Sanford Stadium, oh, it's just it's a wine and cheese crowd. It's not a tough place to play. It's not much of a home field edge, even though George set a record for consecutive home wins, whatever. All those people who are of that mind and continue to just regurgitate these same narratives over and over again each and every offseason should actually, I don't know, maybe come to a game in Sanford Stadium sometime, like a game like this. Because all those people that made up their mind about what Sanford Stadium was as a home field edge when it came to some random like Mississippi State Georgia game in 2009, or have never actually been to a Georgia game and just latch on to what everyone else says. This is the cool thing to say. It's way past time for them to update these tired, incredibly lazy takes about Sanford Stadium. They are so woefully outdated, it's not even funny. Now, I've been going to all the games for a long, long time. Home and away. Long time, guys. Pushing 20 years now. Yeah, I'm old. It is what it is. And I will admit, there was a time, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, 15, 20, I don't know, 15, 16, 17 years ago, where it wasn't consistently a great home field edge for Georgia. That's true. I think some people probably went to games at Georgia in like 2009 and 10 and said, oh my God, this is not really that great of a crowd. This is not that great of an environment, right? It's not really that loud. And I also said the acoustics of like as loud as our stadium gets, considering how it's constructed and how the west end zone is open because we're never going to close in the bridge, which is never going to. Considering that, and it's just not built the way that like Neyland Stadium is, and you could say like Ryan Denny Stadium. Oh, that's not the loudest stadium, or Tiger Stadium, stadiums like that. It's just not built to be to hold in the sound as much as some of those other stadiums are that are kind of wrapped all the way around and don't have that opening we have on the west end zone. It's Really impressive how loud it got considering that, guys. Like, insane, honestly. So I think it's just time for people to update those lazy, tired takes. And yesterday was proof of concept. The fourth quarter, again, this is coming from somebody who has gone to every Georgia game for a long time. Been to a lot of SEC stadiums, most of them multiple times, almost all of them multiple times, except what, Gainesville. Still never gone to A&M because I guess we're just never going to play there. I guess now in a couple of years we will. Oklahoma, still been to Oklahoma. But outside that, yeah, I've been to all of them, and most of them multiple times. The fourth quarter of that game yesterday wasn't as loud as any stadium that I have ever been in. I don't know, the stadium was really loud this year. It's about as loud as I've ever heard it. Auburn 2017 was crazy. Obviously, when we lost that game, right? That was a really loud game. When we haven't played a night game at Tiger Stadium, so it's been loud, but not like insanely loud. But we've been in some loud environments, right? That fourth quarter was as loud as any environment that I have been in. Maybe it wasn't like that all game long. First half of the game, like beginning of the game, it was really loud. Now, there were points where like, oh my god, go down by 9. The crowd's like, oh man, like might lose this game. But once we scored, fight back, get a stop. Then I'm talking like absolutely out of control loud, painfully loud. So just want to give all you guys in the game a big shout out because unbelievable effort, man. Crowd was a big factor there in the fourth quarter. But all right, guys, that is all I got for you here today on the Glory UGA podcast. Thank you guys again for being here. I am just very grateful for everyone who checks out these shows, this channel. So thank you so much for being here. If you are a diehard fan, go ahead and subscribe right now. You don't want to miss any of the content we have designed for all you diehards just like this. Like, comment. What is your big takeaway from this game? I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you again for being here. I'm Tyler, and as always, go Dogs!
Man, is there going to be some property destroyed tonight. 26-21. Dogs on top.